Hi, if I haven't had the pleasure of meeting you before, my name is Jeremy Reed, and I'm an Associate Financial Advisor at Advent Partners in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Thank you for spending your night with me. I hope you're comfortable and ready to go. I'm excited you're here and eager to learn more about your Social Security benefits. If you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to enter them into the chat, and I'll do my best to respond. As of June 2020, the Social Security Administration estimates that the Social Security benefits make up 90% of the income for 21% of married couples and 45% of unmarried individuals. On the screen right now, you'll see a chart that breaks down that statistic by state. For state of Pennsylvania, that number is roughly 25%, so we're a little higher than the national average. For a program that is so widely used and depended on, countless individuals make decisions every day that end up shorting themselves of thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars in benefits in the long term. In fact, only 3 to 6% of individuals who file every year for their retirement benefit will receive their maximum monthly retirement benefit. I'm glad that you're here today to educate yourself so that you can make an informed decision regarding your Social Security benefits so that you can maximize those benefits for you and your loved ones. So let's talk about what this webinar will cover. Today, we'll discuss some Social Security definitions and acronyms you'll need to know as you conduct your research, the benefit types under the Social Security umbrella, which includes the retirement, spousal, survivor, disability, and supplemental benefits, as well as make sure you get the most out of those benefits, the current state of the Social Security Trust Fund, and when you're ready, how to file for Social Security. First, let's start with the definitions. This is not the most exciting place to start, but Social Security loves its acronyms and lingo. So before we jump in and talk about the more exciting stuff, we have to build a foundation of knowledge. And if you're going to make an educated decision, you need to learn to talk the talk. I'll move through here rather quickly, but you may want to make a few notes as we continue through our presentation and later when you do research on your own. This is not meant to be an exhaustive list, but to give you some working knowledge of the lingo as you navigate your decision-making process. Full retirement age. This is age when a person may first become eligible to their full or unreduced retirement benefit. It's between ages 66 and 67, depending on the year you were born. All those born after 1960 have a full retirement age of 67. Average index monthly earnings. Social Security takes the highest 35 years covered earnings and indexes them for inflation to reflect the general wage levels during a worker's years of employment. If you have less than 35 years of covered earnings, Social Security inputs a 0 into the calculation for each year under 35 years that did not have covered earnings. Notice I said covered earnings. Covered earnings are the earnings you pay the FICA taxes on. Most likely you had covered earnings while working, but examples of non-covered earnings include wages from railroads, overseas companies, and certain state and local governments. Non-covered earnings are not considered towards your Social Security calculation, but we'll get into that a little bit more later. Since Social Security only takes your highest 35 years of covered earnings, you can actually raise your benefit by replacing your lower income years with your higher ones, especially if you have some years with $0 in earnings. Also, since Social Security only takes your highest 35 years, working part-time in your late working years or in your retirement will not hurt your benefit. Primary insurance amount. This is your retirement benefit at full retirement age. It's a progressive benefits formula based on your aim. Think of it as reverse tax brackets. In tax brackets, the higher your income, you reach higher tax brackets and your next dollar is taxed more. In Social Security, the higher income, the higher your bracket your next dollar is in, and the less of it that is applied to build your benefit. Also, the maximum taxable earnings in 2021 was $142,800. After that, you get to stop paying FICA taxes, but that income isn't considered towards your PIA calculation. Fully insured. In most cases, to be eligible for Social Security, you must be fully insured, which means you have obtained 40 quarters of gainful employment. To gain a quarter of coverage in 2021, you must earn $1,470, and you can earn up to 4 quarters in a year. If $1,470 gets you 1 quarter, that means you have to get $5,880 in earnings to get all 4 quarters in a year. Where this is deceptive is you don't have to work each quarter of the year to get 4 quarters. You could earn all $5,880 in one day of a given year and still get 4 quarters of coverage for that year. So when we summarize that in short, this means you become fully insured as quickly as 10 years by accruing 4 quarters over 10 years to get a total of 40. But remember, Social Security considers your highest 35 years of covered earnings. So if you only have 10 years of work history, you have 25 years with $0 in earnings in that Social Security calculation. Delayed retirement credit. An individual can increase their monthly benefit for each month they delay their retirement benefit after full retirement age until age 70. Once 70 is reached, no more delayed retirement credits are applied. Once over age 70, the only way to increase your benefit is to continue working and replace your lower income years in that 35-year AIM calculation. Early retirement reduction. The opposite is also true. For each month you file for Social Security early, your benefit is permanently reduced depending on the age claimed and the benefit involved. We'll get into specifics regarding reductions and credits later in this presentation. Cost of living adjustment. This is what makes Social Security one of the best inflation hedges. It offers COLAs. Each December, Social Security is eligible for a COLA increase, which is dependent on the rise of the Consumer Price Index. The purpose of COLAs is to maintain the workers' purchasing power, but Social Security cannot lower your benefit if inflation is negative. You may have heard in the news recently that this year, the COLA adjustment was 5.9%, which is one of the highest we've seen in many, many years. As a side note, Social Security also has a hold harmless rule, which means that Social Security benefits cannot decline from one year to the next due to an increase in Medicare Part B premiums that are automatically deducted from your monthly benefit. So your COLA adjustment has to be at least equal to any increase in your Medicare Part B premium. And lastly, the earnings test. If you file for Social Security early, you are subject to the earnings test until you reach full retirement age, regardless of which type of benefit you are receiving. If you breach a certain income level, Social Security will temporarily withhold your benefits. If you filed for benefits early and you will not reach for full retirement age this year, your benefit will get reduced $1 for every $2 earnings over $18,960. The earnings test is different for the year you reach full retirement age. Your benefit will be reduced $1 for every $3 for every dollar your income is over $50,520. Once you're over full retirement age, the earnings test no longer applies. If you have benefits withheld under the earnings test, your benefit will be permanently increased once you reach full retirement age to account for those benefits that were previously withheld under the earnings test. The earnings test is typically applied on an annual basis. Social Security will use last year's income to determine how much benefits they should withhold this year. There's an exemption for the year you retire. Social Security will apply the earnings test monthly so that the earnings prior to retirement are not considered in the earnings test. And that's important. Okay, we've made it through the boring part. If you're still awake, we're getting to the more exciting part, getting money from Social Security. Next, we're going to discuss the various benefits under Social Security and how to maximize those benefits. The first step in maximizing your benefits is to know what you're entitled to. You've had FICA tax taken out of your paycheck your entire working life, so it's important to know what benefits that entitles you to. Benefit types include the retirement benefit, spousal benefit, which also includes divorce spousal benefit, survivor benefits, which includes widow, widower, divorced widow, and divorced widower benefits, as well as parents' benefits and children benefits. And lastly, there are disability and supplemental security income. So let's go through each one of those one by one. First, we're going to start off with the retirement benefit. According to Social Security Administration, Social Security retirement benefits make up 39% of the average retiree's income. This benefit provides a foundation of retirement protection that lifts millions of elderlies out of poverty. Even if you're not at the poverty line, utilizing this benefit correctly is of utmost importance to your retirement plan. With very few defined benefit plans left, Social Security may be your only form of guaranteed income available in retirement. To be eligible for the retirement benefit, you must be age 62 or older and fully insured. Let me start off by explaining how the retirement benefit is calculated and how your decisions affect that calculation. There are two important inputs that Social Security uses to determine your benefit. First is your average index monthly earnings, or AIM, which I mentioned during the boring part of our presentation. If I put you to sleep during that section, AIM is calculated when Social Security takes your highest 35 years of income and indexes them for inflation. I also want to mention, if I didn't say so earlier, that it doesn't matter what order those 35 years of income come in either. If you have 35 years of full-time work, but you took a mid-career break to take care of children or elderly parents, or back off and work part-time a few years before you fully retire, those years will not negatively impact you because Social Security ignores everything except for those highest 35 years of income. In turn, Social Security uses your AIM to calculate your primary insurance amount. For the first part of the calculation, your income is the only input you can really control. It may be worth working an extra year or two to ensure you have no years with $0 in covered earnings, or to even replace a particularly low year of earnings at the beginning of your career. The easiest way to find your covered earnings history is by looking at your annual Social Security statement. That can be retrieved at any time by registering online at ssa.gov. I'd encourage you to register before you file for Social Security to ensure they have an accurate work and earnings history. We'll come back to that later. The second part of the calculation, which is just as important, is at what age you file for your retirement benefit. To receive 100% of your retirement benefit, you must file at full retirement age, which is between ages 66 and 67, depending on the year you were born. If you file for a benefit before your full retirement age, your monthly benefit is reduced 0.5% for each month taken before full retirement age up to 36 months, and then 0.5% for each month over 36 months. In contrast, if you wait after full retirement age, your monthly benefit is actually increased by 0.2% for each month you delay until age 70, which is equivalent to an 8% raise annually. These are called delayed retirement credits. These are a fantastic benefit. You're guaranteed to get that increase regardless of how the stock market is doing, how interest rates are doing, what is going on with inflation, or any other economic news you can think of. If you're patient, you get rewarded for it. Displayed on the screen currently is a chart that shows the amount of an individual's benefit is increased or decreased depending on when they file. Assuming they filed at full retirement age of assuming a full retirement age of 66, they can increase their monthly benefit 8% per year by delaying or reduce their month. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words. This assumes a full retirement age 66. They can increase their monthly benefit by 8% per year by delaying it, or they can reduce their monthly benefit by taking it early. So what do all these calculations, reductions, and credits mean for you? There's a lot of jargon there, so I want to kind of make it a little personal for you. To help with this question, I'd like to explain how Social Security came up with this very complex calculation. These reductions, credits, calculations, and ages were last updated in 1983, likely when retirement was just a pipe dream for you, and are based off life expectancy factors and interest rates way back then. Social Security has not updated them in the near 4 decades since. Their idea was those who drew early got a bunch of small reduced payments, and those who waited got a few larger payments, and things kind of equaled out regardless of when you filed. But since 1983, things have changed. Life expectancy has increased due to advances in healthcare. So now those who wait for those larger payments now get more of those larger payments than Social Security accounted for way back in 1983, as people are living longer than ever before, which means those who wait and accrue those delayed retirement credits may end up receiving tens of thousands of more in benefit than if they filed early and accepted a permanently reduced benefit. For example, the monthly benefit for someone who filed at age 70 is approximately 76% higher than if the same person filed at age 62. As you can see on the chart displayed, on average, only 3 to 6% of filers each year wait until age 70 to maximize their monthly benefit. And I find it heartbreaking that millions of retirees who may desperately need the income are shorting themselves of thousands of dollars that they're entitled to. The most common argument against delaying filing is, well, what if I die early? I paid in all these years and I just want to make sure I get it back. When doing the math, to benefit from filing at age 70 instead of age 62, you or your spouse needs to live beyond age 79 to make up for that lost time. A study in 2015 showed that for a married couple, there's a 50% chance that one of the spouses will live to age 95. If you file early and you live up living till age 95, or even you just survive into your early 80s, you are shorting yourselves of thousands and possibly tens of thousands of dollars in retirement benefits in the long term. On top of that, your later years are sometimes your most expensive years as you're dealing with high health care and long-term care bills, making those extra benefits that much more important. If you still aren't convinced you should wait, I like to mention that your monthly benefit amount at full retirement age is called your primary insurance amount. You know, that thing we discussed early during the boring part of our presentation. But what is it exactly insurance for? I like to think of it as insurance against longevity, insurance against outliving your savings. And in this scenario, you want as much as insurance as possible. I hope you'll look at it this way too when you prepare for filing, instead of something you need to rush into in fear of missing out. Waiting is especially important for those of good health or who have a history of longevity in their family. Obviously, there's always a chance you will pass away before you get back what you put into Social Security or before the break-even age of 79. We don't know our personal expiration date, but if you pass away early, I would rather you file late, die unexpectedly, and be angry at me from the grave than file early, outlive your savings, and then you or your spouse are hurting for income in your later years when it's most important. There is a reason I mentioned your spouse there. Likely you both are receiving or will receive a benefit, whether it's a retirement benefit or a spousal benefit, which we'll discuss next. But when one of you passes away, the surviving spouse only gets to keep one of those Social Security benefits, and it's whichever is higher. This often creates a problem for survivors who depend on Social Security. So if you're the higher earning spouse, it is that much more important to delay your benefit as it is your benefit that will get passed on, regardless if it is you or your spouse who dies first. Next, I want to talk about making changes to your retirement benefit once you've already filed. Maybe you've already drawn Social Security and regret it, or you got laid off and took your benefits early until you get back on your feet. You still have two options available if you want to make a change. The first is to withdraw your benefit. Within 12 months of filing, you can withdraw your benefit by paying all the benefits back, including any Part B premiums you paid. Essentially, it'll be like you never filed in the first place. You basically get a redo and can refile again at a later time. If you filed more than 12 months ago, withdrawing isn't an option for you, but you can still suspend your benefit. Once you reach your full retirement age, you can suspend the benefit you're receiving and let it grow by that 8% annually and accrue delayed retirement credits until age 70. Finally, there's something called retroactivity for those over full retirement age. If you file for benefits after full retirement age, you can request retroactive benefits of up to 6 months. That means you can file today, but receive up to the last 6 months of benefits in a lump sum. But there's a catch. If you accept retroactive benefits, you lose the delayed retirement credits for those months that you claimed retroactively. Therefore, I don't recommend claiming retroactive benefits unless you're over age 70, since you can't obtain any more anyway, or you're experiencing a major medical emergency. Though I highly encourage most people to delay filing to get the largest monthly benefit they can, delaying your benefit isn't always the answer, depending on your health circumstances. Longevity may not be a concern if you have a chronic or terminal illness, so you may want to draw earlier rather than later. Another factor you may need to consider is if someone in your family, like a disabled child, is eligible to draw Social Security benefits when you file. If you do decide to file early, be aware of the earnings test. If you have too much income, Social Security will withhold your benefit. But don't worry too much. Social Security will permanently adjust your benefit upwards once you reach full retirement age to account for what was withheld. The earnings test no longer applies once you reach full retirement age. Also, it's important to note when you're making Social Security decisions, your situation is different from your siblings, your parents, and your friends. Just because they planned a certain way doesn't mean it's the right decision for you also, let alone the right decision overall. A final note is, just because you are retired doesn't mean you have to file for retirement benefits. Retirement and Social Security do not have to be synonymous. If you retire before age 70, instead of filing for Social Security as soon as you retire, you may have other income options such as a pension or savings from an employer-sponsored plan that you can use in the meantime while you delay your Social Security benefit and let it accrue delayed retirement credits. In a similar vein, just because you're eligible for Social Security doesn't mean you're prepared for retirement. Social Security income likely isn't enough for you to live on in and of itself. So you should consider your Social Security plan in context of your savings, your pension, and other assets at your disposal, and work them together to meet your retirement needs. If you're not sure how to optimize your assets, reach out to a firm like ours that provides financial planning services. The retirement benefit is usually the largest and most important benefit you will receive from Social Security. And as you'll soon find out, it often affects the benefits of those around you as well. So make sure you plan carefully and discuss with a financial professional when necessary to ensure you're on track. Before I move on to the next benefit, I want to discuss the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset. If either of these apply to you, they'll affect the amount of your Social Security benefits you receive. Social Security implemented these rules to even the playing field between those who have pensions from covered work and those who have pensions from non-covered work. Non-covered work just means you had employment where you didn't pay FICA taxes. Common examples are individuals who work for state or local governments. If you or a spouse only have covered work, then this section doesn't apply to you, and this is likely a good time to take a bathroom break or run and grab a snack. First, the windfall elimination provision. It modifies the progressive bend points that calculate PIA that we covered earlier, so there isn't an unfair windfall from receiving both a non-covered pension and a Social Security benefit. It effectively lowers the amount of your benefit. Fortunately, the most Social Security can reduce your benefit under this windfall is equal to half your non-covered pension amount. Also, there's a sliding scale of how much the provision affects your benefit, depending on how many years of covered earnings you have. If you have 30 years, the provision has no effect. The windfall also reduces the benefits for those who are able to collect on your benefit, such as a spouse of yours collecting a spousal benefit. Fortunately for your spouse or anyone else entitled to survivor benefits based on your work record, the windfall is eliminated once you are deceased and does not affect the survivor benefits of your loved ones. Next, the government pension offset. It's similar in that it affects those who have non-covered pensions, but it applies when they file for dependent benefits, such as spousal benefits. Before the offset, non-covered persons could take their non-covered pension and spousal benefit in full, which would have been higher than someone with covered employment only receiving their Social Security retirement benefit. The offset will reduce your Social Security spousal benefits by an amount equal to 2/3 of your non-covered pension. That wraps up the retirement benefit. So next, we're going to discuss spousal benefits. Say you're a stay-at-home parent or you have limited covered earnings record that results in a minimal or non-existent retirement benefit. You may be able to receive your spousal benefit instead of the retirement benefit. To be eligible, you must be 62 or older, married to your spouse for 1 year, and most importantly, your spouse must be currently collecting their retirement or disability benefits. You cannot obtain your spousal benefit unless your spouse has already filed for theirs. The age requirement is waived if you have a child under age 16 in your care. If the eligibility requirements are met, a person who is married to a fully insured spouse is eligible for spousal benefit equal to 50% of their spouse's retirement or disability benefit at full retirement age. But those whose spousal benefit is higher than their own retirement benefit will actually receive it. You either receive your retirement benefit or your spousal benefit, not both. This is because in 2016, Social Security enacted deeming, which means when you file for your retirement benefit, you're deemed to be filing for both your retirement and your spousal benefit at the same time, and Social Security will pay you whichever is higher. The importance of deeming is it effectively ended the file and suspend strategy that was utilized for many years. What that means for you or your spouse is even if you have never paid $1 in FICA taxes, you could receive a 50% spousal benefit based on your spouse's work record. Similar to the retirement benefit, there is a reduction if you file early. If you file early, the benefit is reduced 25/36% for each month up to 36 months and 5/12% for each month beyond 36 months. The lowest your benefit can be is 32% of your spouse's benefit at full retirement age if you file at age 62. And remember, if you file before full retirement age, you are subject to the earnings test. If you file at full retirement age, you will receive an unreduced 50% of your spouse's benefit. It's important to note there is no benefit to delaying your spousal benefit beyond full retirement age. Unlike your retirement benefit, you don't get delayed retirement credits, and you only get 50% of your spouse's benefit at their full retirement age. So if your spouse has any delayed retirement credits, it doesn't affect your spousal benefit. The only reason to wait beyond full retirement age is if your spouse hasn't filed yet so that they can continue accruing delayed retirement credits. I hope you observed so far the importance of coordinating your Social Security benefits timing with your spouse to ensure you maximize the benefits you receive. A situation we often encounter is an individual spousal benefit is higher than their retirement benefit, but their spouse hasn't filed yet, and because of the deeming rules, they're unable to file for it. Fortunately, there is no rule against receiving your retirement benefit in the meantime while you wait for your spouse to file. What you can do is file for your retirement benefit. Then when your spouse files, you'll be eligible to switch over to the higher spouse benefit. But please note, if you do this and you file for your retirement benefit before full retirement age, it's going to be reduced, as mentioned earlier, and that reduction will carry over to when you switch over to your spousal benefit once your spouse files. Also, just because you are divorced doesn't mean you can't obtain the spousal benefit. You may be able to collect on an ex-spouse if you meet the requirements. To be eligible, you must be 62 or over. Your ex-spouse must be 62 or over unless they're collecting disability benefits. The marriage to your ex-spouse must have been more than 10 years. You have not remarried. And if your ex-spouse hasn't filed yet, you must be divorced for 2 years before you can file. That's an important difference between divorced spousal and the regular spousal benefit. There's no requirement for the ex-spouse to file if you've been divorced long enough. As a side note, your ex-spouse's benefits are not reduced by you receiving a divorced spousal benefit. If you remarry, you will lose the divorced spousal benefit. But don't worry, after 1 year of marriage, you'll be eligible for a new spousal benefit based on your new spouse's work record if you meet the eligibility requirements. A problem often encountered here is to make an informed decision regarding your divorced spousal benefit. You need to know your ex-spouse's benefit amount, information they may or may not be so willing to provide. In this scenario, you can contact your local Social Security office and provide them with your marriage certificate and divorce decree to prove to them that you were married for 10 years. You'll also need your ex-spouse's Social Security number. But again, if you don't have it, your ex-spouse's date of birth and parents' names will suffice. This will help Social Security identify your ex-spouse's work record and give you an estimate accordingly. Before we move on, I want to discuss filing what is called a restricted application. This is a strategy that benefits a specific group of individuals. To be eligible, you must be born before January 2nd, 1954, be a current or ex-spouse, and have reached full retirement age. Be eligible for your own retirement benefit, and your spouse needs to be currently receiving their retirement benefit. The restricted application is essentially an exception to the deeming rules. If your spouse is receiving Social Security, you can file a restricted application for your spousal benefit only, collect the 50% of your spouse's benefit while allowing your retirement benefit to accrue delayed retirement credits. Once you reach age 70, your own Social Security benefit has received the maximum amount of delayed retirement credits, and you can file for your retirement benefit to switch over to this higher benefit. This is essentially the file and suspend strategy for people who were born before January 2nd, 1954. If filing a restricted application is beneficial to you, I want to make mention when you file, whether it be in person, over the phone, or online, you do not actually fill out a special application called the restricted application. Instead, you're looking for a specific question that will ask you something along the lines of, if you're eligible for both a retirement and spouse benefit, do you want to delay receiving your retirement benefit? It's extremely important to make sure Social Security understands you're only filing for your spousal benefit in this situation. Social Security is run by humans, and humans make mistakes. If your instructions are unclear, they will assume you're filing for both your retirement and your spousal benefit and give you the higher of the two. leaving you with a permanently reduced retirement benefit and unable to take advantage of the restricted application. But we'll cover how to file later in more detail. Next, we're going to discuss survivor benefits. Correctly understanding survivor benefits and how your retirement benefit filing decisions affect those survivor benefits is critical to those you leave behind. I wanted to take a moment to point out the chart on the screen. According to a study in 2018, the average surviving spouse receives a monthly benefit of $1,347 from Social Security, an amount seriously insufficient in and of itself to meet a surviving spouse's day-to-day needs. First, let me walk through the various types of benefits that are categorized as survivor benefits. At your spouse's death, Social Security gives you a one-time $255 payment. The payment started in 1935 before survivor benefits were part of Social Security to provide equity for people who passed before full retirement age. It evolved over the years so that it was looked at as more of a burial benefit, but it hasn't been updated since 1954. So while insufficient, I just want to make mention of it because you are entitled to it. Next is mother or father survivor benefits. You are eligible to receive 75% of your deceased spouse's primary insurance amount if a child who is under 16 or disabled before 22 is in your care. There is no reduction for taking those benefits early, and this applies to children in your care that are premarital, adopted, or even from a deceased spouse's previous relationship or marriage. In addition, the child will be eligible for child benefits until age 18. They can receive 75% of their deceased parent's PIA as well. Also, a parent of the deceased may receive benefits if the deceased was providing at least half their support. The parent is 62 or older, and they are the natural parent of the deceased. One parent can receive up to 82.5% of this deceased's primary insurance amount, and two surviving parents can receive up to 75% of the benefit each. If eligible, the parents would receive this in place of their retirement benefit, but only if it's higher. Finally, widow or widower benefits. If you're eligible for mother-father benefits, there's a blackout period until you're eligible for widow or widower benefits between when your child turns 16 and when you turn 60. If you were married for 9 months, you are at least 60 years old, 50 if disabled, and didn't remarry before age 60, again, 50 if disabled, you're eligible for this benefit. I want to spend some more time on widower benefits, as it is a very important part of most couples' retirement plan. The amount of the benefit is different depending on if your deceased spouse filed for their retirement benefit, and if they did, at what age they filed for. The survivor may receive one of three amounts. First, if they filed at full retirement age, your widow or widower benefit will be limited to a higher of 82.5% of the deceased benefit or the actual benefit they are receiving. Second, if they claimed at full retirement age or later, the survivor takes the same benefit, including any delayed retirement credits. Finally, if you both are receiving a retirement benefit, then the surviving spouse keeps the higher of the two and loses the other. I mentioned this when discussing spousal benefits, and I'll mention it again here. It's very important to coordinate benefits with your spouse to ensure you maximize your long-term Social Security benefits for both you and your spouse. Filing for retirement benefit early may not only permanently reduce your retirement benefit, but it can permanently reduce you or your spouse's survivor benefit as well. When planning for your retirement picture, you must look at the amount of income left behind for your spouse and decide, is that enough income for the survivor, or do we need to come up with a plan to replace that lost benefit? Social Security alone likely will not suffice. You may also be eligible for a divorced widow or widower benefit on your ex-spouse. The mechanics work the same as the widow or widower benefit previously mentioned, except for two additional eligibility requirements. You must have been married to your ex-spouse for at least 10 years, and you must not have remarried before age 60, age 50 if you're disabled. So when should you file for your widow or widower benefits? By waiting until your personal full retirement age, you receive 100% of the widow or widower benefit. There are no delayed retirement credits for waiting, so there's no benefit to waiting after full retirement age to take this benefit. You're eligible to file as early as age 60, but there is a percentage reduction for each month you file early. The percentage reduction is different depending on what year you are born, between 1939 and 1962. So I won't go into detail on what those percentages are right now, but they can be found at ssa.gov. Assuming you file between age 60 and full retirement age, you'll receive anywhere between 71.5% and 100% of your survivor benefit. And remember, you're subject to the earnings test if you file before full retirement age. There's an important planning decision to make if you're eligible for both a widower benefit and a retirement benefit. You cannot receive them simultaneously, but unlike the spousal benefits previously mentioned, deeming rules don't apply. So you're able to receive one of those benefits while delaying the other and allowing it to grow to its highest monthly benefit possible. There's 3 strategies to implement depending on your situation. First, if you're at full retirement age or older and your survivor benefit is greater than your retirement benefit, you should go ahead and apply for your survivor benefit right now. It's the larger of the two, and you don't benefit by waiting any longer since survivor benefits don't receive delayed retirement credits and the earnings test doesn't apply. The second strategy is if your retirement benefit is smaller than your survivor benefit and you're below full retirement age, you should file for your retirement benefit right now, and that only. You will receive a reduced amount for now, but once you reach full retirement age, you can go back to Social Security and switch over to your survivor benefit. Since you waited until full retirement age to take the survivor benefit, it will not be reduced and you will receive 100% of your survivor benefit. Finally, if you are over age 60 and your retirement benefit is higher than your survivor benefit. In this scenario, once you're eligible, you want to apply for your survivor benefit only and delay your retirement benefit until age 70. At age 70, you can switch over to your retirement benefit as it has received the maximum amount of delayed retirement credits. And remember, in looking at your options, if you file before full retirement age, you'll be subject to the earnings test. I mentioned this with spousal benefits and we'll reiterate it here. If you're applying for one benefit and delaying the other, make sure you make that especially clear to Social Security. If you don't say anything and you're eligible for both, they'll file for both and give you whichever is higher, and you'll live with that benefit permanently. Deeming rules don't apply to survivor and retirement benefits, but that doesn't mean Social Security knows to not file for both. Actually, it is likely assumed that you're filing for both unless you tell them otherwise. Lastly, I want to mention you're required to report a death of your deceased to a Social Security immediately. You'll be required to return the benefit received in the month of death and any months thereafter. I encourage you today to look at your current Social Security benefits and compare them to what survivor benefits would be for you, your spouse, and your children. A lack of income is not something you want you or your loved ones to be surprised by. It's very likely that survivor benefits will be insufficient in and of themselves, so it's worth spending time now to have a plan in place. The last 2 benefits we'll discuss briefly are disability benefits and supplemental security income. First, disability benefits. To be eligible, you must have worked in a job covered by Social Security. The number of quarters you need to have is dependent on your age and have a medical condition that meets Social Security's definition of disability. Social Security typically pays benefits to those who are unable to work for a year or more or have a disability that will likely result in death. I would recommend speaking to Social Security representative if you think you're eligible. Disability benefits also allows you to start pulling your retirement or survivor benefits as early as age 50. The benefit is calculated based on your earnings history, similar to your retirement benefit, except there's no reduction for filing before full retirement age. Social Security enacts something called a disability freeze to limit the effects of having 0 earnings years. Once you reach full retirement age, you'll be automatically switched over to your retirement benefit, but the amount of the benefit will stay the same. Next is supplemental Social Security income. It is designed to help the aged, blind, and disabled individuals with little or no income, and it provides cash to meet basic needs for food, clothing, and shelter. You must be screened by Social Security to see if you're eligible for this benefit. They'll consider your income, net worth, and residency to determine your eligibility. If you think you may qualify for either of these benefits, I strongly suggest you contact Social Security to discuss your eligibility right away. Well, those are all the types of the Social Security benefits you may be eligible for. But before we move on and discuss how to file when you're ready, I want to answer a very common question we receive. Will Social Security be around for me? I'm sure you've heard it before. It seems every friend at a party, every talking head on TV, and every person with a keyboard has the same story and opinion about Social Security. Social Security is running out, and there's some future date when benefits are gone, and then they'll tell their children a sob story how it'll be all dried up by the time they retire. So is it true? First, let's talk about how Social Security system works to understand if it's really going to be empty. Each month for decades, you've had FICA tax taken out of your paycheck to contribute to the Social Security. But where's it going? Social Security is not like your 401k or your bank account. Social Security doesn't have an account or a little box with your name on it where your tax dollars go, and they're kept aside specifically for you when you're ready. Instead, Social Security has what's called as a pay-as-you-go system. If you're paying taxes today, those funds are taken and dispersed to individuals currently drawing benefits. So that's why when you hear about Social Security and the state of the trust fund, you often hear other factors like birth rates, an aging population, or the number of people retiring each day, because Social Security is dependent on existing taxpayers to fund current retirees' Social Security benefits. The ratios of workers to beneficiaries has steadily declined over several decades, and it's reaching an apex with baby boomers retiring at a clip of 10,000 individuals per day. If there are more taxes collected than distributed, money is added to the Social Security Trust Fund. And if more is dispersed than taxes collected, then money is taken from this trust fund. According to the 2020 annual report of the Social Security Board, this trust fund had $2.9 trillion in it. That sounds like a lot of money, but now for a much uglier number, $43 trillion. That is how much the trust fund is estimated to be underfunded by. Our existing tax base just isn't keeping up with the benefits being paid out. Now, there's an important caveat to that. What isn't always shared is that the Social Security is underfunded by $43 trillion over the next 75 years. This also assumes no changes are made to our existing system, and we just keep trucking along for the next 75 years. Don't get me wrong, $43 trillion is a lot of money, but to put that into perspective, over the next 75 years, Social Security also estimates that $43 trillion will only represent about 1.1% of the US's gross domestic product. Their studies also show they'll be able to continue paying 100% of benefits until 2034. And after that, they'll be able to continue paying 79% of the benefits all the way until 2094. Now, I know that isn't very encouraging, as hopefully you'll still be alive in 2034, but it also isn't the doom and gloom story you likely heard before. It also means if Social Security makes no changes at all, you, your children, your grandchildren, and possibly even your great-grandchildren are still going to receive the majority of their benefit. Likely, Social Security and the federal government will have to act at some point, and they have many options other than cutting benefits. They can increase the limit for taxation, raise the full retirement age, lower cost of living adjustments, reduce benefits, or add more of the burden to the federal budget. Social Security was 17% of the US budget in 2020. In 2034, the baby boomer generation will be the main recipient of Social Security, and also a very large voting segment. I don't see any politician sticking out his or her neck and cutting their benefits, so likely some other avenue will have to be taken. Cutting benefits isn't only unpopular, it's harmful. As I mentioned earlier, 21% of married couples and 45% of unmarried individuals rely on Social Security for 90% or more of their income. Social Security has several options that I just noted, and I'm hard pressed to believe that cutting the benefits to our elders most in need will be our government's answer. But I don't have a crystal ball, so I don't know what action our federal government will take, if at all. But if cutting benefits is on the table, it makes it that much more important for you to be patient and wait until full retirement age or later to accrue delayed retirement credits to get the largest monthly benefit possible, instead of filing early and having your already reduced benefit cut even further. Instead of asking, will Social Security be around for me? I think a more appropriate question is, will my Social Security be enough for me to live on? Most likely not by itself. So that's why it's important you get the maximum amount of benefits you can. which may mean working longer so you can delay filing and accrue more delayed retirement credits. You'll want to work with a financial advisor in context of your savings, your pensions, your required minimum distributions, how long you plan to work, your spouse's Social Security, and other factors pertinent to you determine when it is best to file and how you can make your retirement plan a success. It may make sense to work longer or maybe spend a little extra of your retirement savings earlier in retirement so that you can delay Social Security and then lower those retirement distributions once you start Social Security. And most importantly, don't put all your eggs in the Social Security basket when retirement planning. Social Security was not purposed to be your lone source of income in retirement. Instead, diversify your retirement income by participating in pensions and retirement plans available to you now while you work. Finally, I want to discuss how to file when you're ready. I want to encourage you to go to ssa.gov today, even if you're not ready to file, and register for My Social Security to obtain your most recent Social Security statement. It's an easy process that will only take you a few moments. Once registered, you can see how many quarters of coverage you have accrued, what your full retirement age is, and an estimate of your benefits if you were to become eligible to one of those aforementioned benefits we discussed today. I also encourage you to do this to obtain your Social Security statement, since your statement will show your earnings history. Social Security is run by humans and humans make mistakes. So it's a good idea to confirm those earnings numbers are correct so that your benefits are calculated correctly. So if you're ready to file, there are 3 ways for you to do so. First, you can file online at ssa.gov. On the front page, there are several types of benefits listed. From there, you can select the one you wish to apply for. It takes as little as 20 to 30 minutes. This is the quickest and possibly the easiest way to apply if you're tech savvy, but not the way to proceed if you're not comfortable with technology. An important side note, you cannot apply for survivor benefits online. To report a death or file for survivor benefits, you must use one of the next 2 methods. The next method is you can file when you go to your local Social Security office and file hard copy in person. The advantage to filing in person is that you get the comfort of talking to a human face-to-face. Also, the hard copy application has a remarks section which you can make full use of. This is where you can clearly state your intentions after you complete the application. You can clearly state what benefits you're applying for, which benefits you're not applying for, what you're delaying, and what you're You can clearly state which benefits you're applying for, which benefits you're delaying and not applying for, and mention the specific date for which you want benefits to start. The downside of filing in person is that Social Security has long wait times, so make sure you make an appointment, or you could be waiting a very long time. Sadly, Social Security is extremely understaffed, so be patient if this is the path you choose. I would also mention that Social Security representatives cannot give you advice. So it cannot give you advice of how to maximize your benefit or when to apply. So don't set an appointment with an expectation of receiving this advice. If you need help deciding when to file, contact a financial professional. The final way to apply is to speak with a representative over the phone, and they can complete an electronic application on your behalf. The advantage to filing over the phone is you get to avoid the long lines at Social Security, but my main concern with this method is you're literally playing a game of telephone with your benefits. So I don't really recommend this option unless the first 2 are unavailable to you. When filing, you'll need to bring some documents with you in addition to your application. You'll need to bring a proof of birth, likely a birth certificate, your Social Security card, if not born in the US, a proof of citizenship, and a copy of last year's W-2 or self-employment tax return. Other documents and information you should bring as well are your bank institution's bank routing and account number to set up electronic deposit of your benefit, the name and address of your employer, names and dates of birth of current or former spouses, as well as dates of marriage and divorces. And you'll need to bring proof as well, such as a marriage certificate and divorce decree, and a copy of your Social Security statement. This is all things that you may find helpful. If you have listened to this webinar or did some other form of research and you're still not certain when the best time for you or your spouse to file is, I would recommend to contact our office to help you through this decision-making process. Lastly, I wanted to go over some filing tips. Retroactivity. I explained this earlier, but in short, if you're over full retirement age, you can receive up to 6 months of benefits in a lump sum. If filing in person or over the phone, a representative will likely offer you this, or maybe even assume you want it, but I encourage you to decline unless you are over age 70 or experiencing a major medical emergency where you need funds quickly. If you waited until age 70 to maximize your benefits and then took the retroactive benefits, they'll wipe out 6 months of delayed retirement credits. Regardless of how you file, be specific on which day you want benefits to start to avoid this mistake. Next, I want to reiterate the remarks section of the application if you file in person. Your Social Security application will have this remarks section at the end. Make full use of this section just in case. You can specifically state what you're attempting to do. That way, if a mistake is made, you have something to point to as your intentions. And be specific: what date benefit should start, what benefit you're applying for, what benefits you're not applying for, or if you're eligible for more than one. Also, Social Security representatives, although well-intentioned, are not financial advisors and are not allowed to give you advice on when it is best or most beneficial for you to apply. If you need help making those decisions, please contact our office or a trusted financial advisor. And when you're ready to apply, I recommend applying 2 to 3 months in advance of when you want your benefit payments to start. It typically takes Social Security 6 weeks to process your application. But if anything is missing or progress is slowed for any reason, I don't know, such as a pandemic, it's best to give yourself some extra time. That concludes our webinar today, and I'm glad that we have some time left to cover some of your questions. So please feel free to send your questions in the chat box, and I'll do my best to answer them now. And if not, I'll be happy to do some research and get back to you. Also, I'll put my contact information up here on the screen. You can follow up with me later if you have any questions. But thanks for attending, everyone, and I hope you have a good night.